It's season 4 and it's a fresh new episode series for us. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Enlightened Conversations, where each week we invite guests to share their views on the world, work and their personal lives in an enlightened way. Our hosts have been chosen especially to role model just how we do an enlightened conversation. Today's episode is hosted by Michelle Lighworker. Hi everyone, it's Michelle Lighworker here and welcome to Enlightened Conversations. I have the wonderful, delightful Carolyn King joining me today. We're going to talk about how we can release our inner bully, and I'm sure a lot more will come into the conversation as it usually does. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm so happy to be here again. I always love chatting with you.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's nice to be able to capture our conversations like on an actual recording, because they're very profound. And I know you and I, we just go deep. We just kind of go there straight away when we're chatting. Yeah, so it's really nice to be able to share that with everybody else. And for those of you who don't know Carolyn, where have you been? She's amazing. She's the owner and founder of Empowered Happiness. She's helped thousands release negative emotions and trauma, assisting them to transition to a more fulfilled and happier life. Goes without saying, her work revolves around how we can empower ourselves and be happy and feel that in our bones. And Carolyn uses a multidisciplinary approach. She combines her kinesiology, coaching. She's got different kinds of coaching that she does: mBit, positive psychology and mindfulness. She does tapping, Reiki, creativity, oracle cards and meditation. She is a kinesiologist and an mBit coach, a life coach, positive psychology master coach, a Reiki Master and a Master Lightworker Practitioner, a HeartMath Practitioner. I'd love to have a bit more of a chat with you about that too, because I love the HeartMath Institute. She's a meditation facilitator and Angel Intuitive. She's also a corporate speaker and blogger and international author of the book Empowered Happiness, Discovering Bliss Beyond Depression, and has co-authored many other books. And she is also the creator of the world's first kinesiology Kinesi cards, which allows the user to bring a bit of kinesiology easily into their daily lives. And Carolyn's mission, she's on a mission to help people live a fulfilled life with real and lasting happiness, and is especially passionate about helping those that have hit their rock bottom, as she has personally overcome the lows and disconnectedness of depression and the anxieties and stresses associated with corporate burnout. Oh gosh, haven't we all? She has studied many different healing modalities and continues to develop her skills, integrating them into her life and creating programs for her clients with the intention of empowering more people. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you. I probably have to shorten that a bit, don't I?
That's okay. I don't mind. It's really nice to actually. Sometimes it's good to do a little one, but I feel like you've just got so many things that you've learned, but you're also that life learner that you're saying, hey, but I'm still learning. I love that. I'm very much the same. I love the life learning attitude. So I hope that inspires people to think, oh, you don't have to just do one thing. You can keep going and you just continue to evolve in your practice, right?
I actually just wrote a post this morning. I think it'll go out in the next couple of days, about how most of my learning has come through my clients. As much as I go and do all the book learning and all the courses, it's when I'm working with somebody and I sort of think to myself, how can I go deeper with them? How can I help them? And that's how you develop your own, I guess, techniques and your own way of working with people, by pulling on everything you've learned and listening to what they say. That's my biggest lesson, really. My biggest learnings come from that.
It's so true. And my understanding was, whenever I learn a tool, I had more ammunition to help somebody, more language for me to be guided by my intuition to help people, because I added things to my toolkit. So it's actually quite exciting when you add one thing. It can actually really open up another language to the other side and to our helpers, to help us to help people. So it's limitless, really.
It really is.
Yeah. And so the other day everything that you do inspires me. So it's really hard to choose, but I got the tap on my shoulder to reach out to you when you did that post about releasing your inner bully. And I I really felt like it was something well worth talking about with people so that we can gain a deeper understanding of that. So just for people that don't know what we're talking about, do you want to give them just a little summary of what that's about?
The inner bully is really that voice inside our head that continually puts us down. It's the stuff that we possibly or probably don't say to anyone else, but we're constantly berating ourselves. You're not good enough. No one likes me. I'm never going to amount to anything. All those things that just bring you down. And I think what's interesting is it's an inner bully, because if someone out there did it, more often than not, we'd walk away. But because it's in here, somehow we've come to the conclusion that what our brain says is the truth, and it's not. It's just like, so that's what the inner bully is. It's that those voices and the sentences and the movies and all those things that berate you and bring you down and make you feel disconnected from life and from the abundance of love that is out there.
True. It does, doesn't it? When we're in that critique part of ourselves, I get that sense too, that there's a real disconnect from our heart space. I think for me, the part of the bully part that has existed and raises its head now and again, I think its goal is to get my attention to do something that's better for me. But at the same time, it's not receiving something at that moment because it's the way it's expressing itself is quite dysfunctional. So therefore so that part of myself is disconnected from the heart space. So really, there's a real, I guess you could say, a little bit of a red flag when you hear that in a critique, anybody, that there is an aspect, doesn't necessarily mean all of us is disconnected from our heart chakra. It just means that there might be one part that really needs our attention, right?
Absolutely. And those voices can come from, it could be your mum or your dad or a parent saying it when you were growing up, or a teacher or a friend, or something you see on TV at the wrong time that your brain is just sucked in, and it's made it think that that's truth, that's your reality, when in fact it's not.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, when you look back at how our parents have done things, and they can look terribly dysfunctional, but they would have themselves convinced that they're doing it for our for our better good, for the good of our betterment of ourselves, I suppose you could say. It's hard to find the words there, but they're trying to do it for our good. And I think if we on face value, if we you talked about that process where you poop out of your head, which I think is fantastic, because if you don't get rid of the gunk, and if you don't get rid of the toxic garbage that's sitting there, and you don't release it, you can't get to the truth, can you? It's hard to. It's really hard. Do you want to talk people through what you do, that little process? That was quite good. I like that.
Well, I came up with it with a client. So as I said, most of my tools come about from working with people. And I said, I've got this technique I'm calling pooping out of your head. And she loved it. And the reason I call it that is because in our physical body, we eat our food. Our body takes its nutrition and what it needs, and then we poop out the rest. We don't think about it. It just happens. In our head, what can happen is we take in all the stimulus around us, our experiences and what people have said to us, but it just stays there. We don't actually release it quite often. It just sort of sits in there in a big mix
so
of
true. Hey,
words and memories. And our brain actually doesn't operate in linear time like when we're writing a letter. It actually goes all over the place. That's why our brain can jump all over the place. And some people struggle to fall asleep because their brain's going nuts. So I've developed a technique where we actually release what's in our head. So we need to take the nutrition out of it first. So what I mean by the nutrition is, what are the learnings? What can we learn from what we want to release? Is there something we need to learn in here? And so we take that learning, and then over time, when we're ready to release stuff, we have a lot of little pieces of paper, and we write down a thought or a word or a sentence or a person or whatever you want to release out of your brain. And that symbolizes the pooping. And as you write it, you're actually, the intention is to release it out of your head, and you breathe out. And then you can tear it up and stick it into a bowl, or dispose of it however you want. But the purpose is to release it. And if it keeps coming back, then that is a sign that there is something in there that you need to learn from.
That's a really good one. I like that. I like that a lot, because I find that when things swing back around and they keep swinging back around, and I often refer to it as it hitting me at the back of the head all the time, it's something that I really need to address. Whereas I won't pay attention to negative, like they might float through, and then I don't even give them any time of day if they're not like, it's not like a repetitive thing. But yeah, you're right. When things repeat on you, that's a really good sign to address it at a deeper level.
And sometimes it's a learning, sometimes, and in that learning, sometimes the learning is to challenge it. How true is this thought? You know, oh, nobody likes me. You know, that might be a thought that goes through your head. Well, hang on a minute, that person likes me and that person likes me, and that. So you challenge that thought. How true are you? Is this real? Because at the moment, I think, especially the last couple of years, I've seen an increase in fear with people, and the thoughts that go through their head about what's going to happen and what can happen. And it's really challenging that fear. How true is this? Is this really going to happen? And realistically, how does it impact me right now? How does it stop me doing what I want to do? Does it impact how I feel? And if it does impact how I feel, why am I giving my power away to that fear? And taking that back. So it's dissecting those thoughts that do repeat and being able to challenge them. And I think over time, that actually gives us our personal power back. Like you said, you know, those negative thoughts waft through your head. That's how mine are now. When I was going through depression, those negative thoughts were everything. They created my reality. But now I know, I might hear them and I go, oh, that's interesting. Oh, where'd that come from? Oh, it's gone. Or straight away I'll go, really? How true is that, brain? Really? And I do it with love. I don't do it with disrespect. I don't do it with pushing it down or ignoring it or yelling at it. I like to say, make friends with your brain, make friends with your mind, and talk to it like you would a friend.
Yeah, I like that. And like the inner bully stuff, like, you know, most bullies have been bullied themselves, you know, and it's about what is that part of me might need. But I like the pooping out of the head, because like I always found growing up, if I'd write something down, it would release it. It would make it clear how I really felt. Sometimes it would make it clear how ugly it was up there. But I think at the end of the day, if you've got the intention that you want to keep what's nourishing you, and clear out what you feel is not nourishing you, or even see it, to question what you're saying, question it, how real is it, or, you know, like have a chat to it. Do you really feel like this? And, you know, have that conversation. And why do you feel that? What do you need? And is it something else going on here? And just taking some time to make the bully your buddy instead of your nemesis. Because we've all got it. So if I think if it's really hurting and it's really fearful, I feel that's when it gets loud.
Yeah, and then you can't hear what's underneath it. So by writing it down, you solidify it, you're sort of giving it a voice, so to speak, and then you can sit there and go, wow, where did this come from? What's underneath this? Where did I hear this first? Or where did this belief come first? Or where did this start? And what do you need to heal this part of you? So, but if it's really loud, you can't hear anything else.
No,
it sort of
exactly.
takes over.
Yeah, hence the pooing.
Yes. And like our body, it takes the nutrients. We want to take the nutrients of that, you know, whatever it is, whatever we're saying to ourselves, whatever that bully is. And we know bullies always come from fear. Bullies are bullies because they've lost their power somewhere, and they're trying to exert their power over somebody else. And that's what our brain's trying to do, rather than just sitting quietly in that heart space. When we're in that heart space, personal power is just there. It's not something you have to, it just comes automatically. It's not something you have to fight for or work towards. It just is.
And so talking about the heart space a bit more, so you did the HeartMath Practitioner training, did you?
I've done two. So COVID was good for me. I love studying, and I did one on stress release and one on trauma release. And it was interesting in that I was probably doing some of that work already anyway. It was just nice to go a little bit deeper with how they describe it. And as a person that loves science as well as spirituality, I loved that they've got the scientific backing for it. And anyone that goes to the site will know there's definitely, I feel they allude to a lot more, but they've got the science to sort of back it so that it can get some credibility. And it's a wonderful, safe way for people to reconnect with their hearts, because I feel a lot of people I don't think you truly disconnect from your heart, but you may not listen to it so much. And people are scared to listen to their heart because it's painful. But if you do the heart breathing, it's a really safe way for some people to start to reconnect to that voice.
Yeah. And they have done tests, haven't they, that measure the frequency of your heart, and that it affects people outside, like a distance away. So people can feel you coming.
I think it was about 3 feet away. I'm not sure. Somewhere around 3 meters, but I'm sure it was 3 feet initially, because our heart is an electromagnetic organ. So it creates this energy field around us, whereas the brain, maybe an inch they can sort of measure away around. But our heart, I mean, that's quite a distance around us. So if you're in dialogue with somebody, they can feel your heart. It's called heart coherence. It's when your heart is in a nice rhythmic breathing state. And if they can feel around you, then you're impacting and influencing those around you from a balanced perspective, which is always for the highest good. And not getting too much into auras, but that would definitely impact their aura and our field of protection, I guess, without having to think I need to protect myself. It just does it.
I would have to agree with that, because I know a lot of people, when you're having a bad day and you get into a bit of a rut and things keep going wrong, it's like something has kind of gotten in, and we're in that trauma response where we're in a reaction. And so what happens to our heart space when we're in trauma, I believe, is we tend to fly out of our body a bit. So we're a bit more disconnected from our heart chakra. And then we wonder, why am I stubbing my toe? Why is somebody more cross at me than usual, and things like that? It's almost like it sort of snowballs on itself. And I think it's because it's how powerful it is to stay connected to your heart space and to stay in that heart coherence realm, because the more you are, I feel like it is a little bit like Teflon, like things just bounce off you. Well, they don't come. Yeah, it's like a force field. It is a little bit like that. I kind of, I feel like sometimes I live like that. Like I got a force field around me, and I'm not even trying. I'm not trying. Oh, I've got to protect myself. Oh, I'm going, not that fear kind of protection stuff. Yeah.
It is. And the studies they've shown is that the more you do it, the more it's like muscle memory. So it's like going to the gym and doing bicep curls. The more you do bicep curls, the stronger your muscle gets. And if you don't do it for a while and go back, your muscles will come back because there's memory in there. It's the same with this heart breathing. It's just breathing into your heart and out of your heart. And the more you do it, the stronger the field becomes. And if you do find yourself in a moment where you're stubbing your toe and everyone's mean to you, that instant realization of, oh, I can do my heart breathing. And you sort of get into that space a lot quicker. And I would agree with you. It's just something that becomes part of your life without that fear-driven, I need to protect myself. It just is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so since the last time I spoke with you, it was a little while ago, but on Enlightened Conversations, you're in the first season from memory, I think, or the second. I'd have to go back and have a look. Was it the first season?
I think so. Life's a blur at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was, because I remember the original artwork that we did, and we had a little cream backing, and I'm pretty sure you were on that one. So it would have been the first one, first season, and so that was in 2016, and now here we are in 2022. Can you believe it?
Wow, so much has changed since then.
I know. And so what would be your highlights over the last six years that you people might want to know about?
Biggest thing is that I quit my corporate job in 2017, at the end of 2017.
Huge.
To fully work in my business, which has been wonderful. Up until then, I've been doing both part-time. So successfully been running my business now for 6 years full time. If I can do my maths right, I was an accountant, seem to have lost that ability a little bit.
You got the HeartMath stuff going down all right though.
And I think that's the thing. I think since then I've done the HeartMath stuff and the positive psychology stuff and mBit stuff, which is the 3 brains, the head, the heart, the gut brain stuff. I'm studying something new again because I love to study. So I'm studying hypnotherapy right now, which I really love. So my highlights, it's been a really busy 6 years, but I guess the biggest learning, I guess the biggest realization I had is that when you do the work, and I mean the real work, and this is what I did way back when I healed my depression or worked through my depression, it really translates into everything else. Because a year ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And the way, and it pretty much is about a year ago, I'm just looking at the date, it was it was actually a year ago and 1 month. So 13 months ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
You're amazing how you've dealt with that. It's incredible.
Do you know what? I realized it's because of the work I did, because I just trusted. I had faith. It was, I looked in the mirror, something didn't look right. I went to the doctors, and I'd been checked 6 months prior. So please, just as a little shout out, please keep checking yourself, because I'd been checked in March and they told me I was fine. Looked in the mirror, something didn't look right, went to the doctors, and in all honesty, I can say there was a little bit of fear there. I'm not going to lie. When he first diagnosed me, I was like, what does this mean?
Crap. Yeah.
Holy crap, it was a bit like that.
Of course.
But then I just went straight into gratitude mode of, oh, thank goodness I looked in the mirror. Thank goodness I've got this awesome surgeon who can get it, get rid of it next week for me. And even the way he handled it, every single person I've had on this journey, my specialists have been wonderful.
That was crazy, wasn't it? Like it was like 4 months, and it was 6 months, it was like 40 millimeters or something that had grown or something like that.
6.8 centimeters, the cancer, 6.8.
Yeah, 6.8, sorry.
6.8, 6.8 centimeters, and they checked me 6 months prior.
Wow. And then they were able to operate in like 11 days or something ridiculous like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, he diagnosed me. I went to see him on the Monday. We had a whole lot of tests that Monday. The following Monday, he diagnosed me with breast cancer. And the following Wednesday, which was Melbourne Cup weekend, so it was the Wednesday just after Melbourne Cup, I was in hospital having surgery. And, I had my sense of humor the whole way through, because that's me. And I do have 2 teenage kids. I didn't want to scare them too much. So we do, joke through it, but not in a way of pushing it down. We dealt with our emotions, and my husband's been really phenomenal in terms of supporting them and me. But every specialist I've had has been wonderful. So I've been able to sort of navigate through with a bit of a sense of humor. My surgeon said to me a couple of times, he said, "Well, your positive attitude's amazing." Like, because I was just like, "Oh yeah," and it's really funny because I've just trusted the process. And since then I had the mastectomy and I went through radiation treatment. Had my ovaries out, gone into menopause, which is awesome. The hot flushes are intense. I'm on medication for 5 years because my cancer was linked to estrogen, and then I had my gallbladder out a month ago. So it's been a phenomenal 12 months. But I guess for me, it's that realization that when you do the work, you really can navigate through everything. And people around me, I know Michelle was wonderful. Michelle accepted me exactly as I was. But there were other people that were saying, no, you're pushing it down, you're hiding it, you need to do this. And I kept sitting with it thinking, I really don't. This was something that came along my journey and, into my life. And I think it really was just to remind me that when you do the work, you can navigate through anything, and you'll be okay. Even if it had gone the other way, I knew I'd be okay eventually, because my beliefs are so strong that life looks after us and gives us what we can handle.
And it's interesting how you're able to navigate through that with when people are saying, no, you should, do this or that. It's similar to that inner bully stuff, that sort of, well, you should really, that's the, I call it don't should on yourself, which sounds like, what I'm saying, but it sounds to me like you're able to, because you dealt with that, and you're not internalizing other people's expectations of what they think you should do, and you're going with, hang on a sec, I'm in gratitude. I just literally grew a lump in 6 months. The way I would look at it would be, well, there's something that you've healed that sometimes medically we need to have them taken out. And that's okay. Actually, that's a good thing. The fact that you caught it, for me, that's how I interpret it. I go, oh, wow. Yeah. Caroline was ready to have this released. Whatever it was toxic, and she manifested a very quick and easy release on that in a very thorough way. And, you know, along with that, she's also released whatever else she doesn't need physically, that she has sorted out energetically, which would be your ovaries and all those kind of things. And then also your gallbladder. And I remember having a little bit of a conversation with you, is that you're aware of things that you want to release around that. And I think that's such great awareness and compassion, to be in a space of allowing something to be removed, and also knowing I do want to you know, have a bit more of a deep dive on something, because our body's like a hologram of our physical body is our physical body, but we have a hologram of that energetically. And sometimes I find that we work on stuff and then it wants to be physically released. And people do the whole, oh, it's not spiritual, it's rubbish, it's all together. And sometimes we have something removed and then we work on because we're ready to have that released, but then we have other things to process. So it's, you know, it's a very different way to look at it than bullying up on ourselves or allowing others to.
And I think you've touched on something really powerful there, because sometimes in the spiritual realm there is, oh, well, you could have worked on that. You could have healed your cancer, or you could have healed your gallbladder. You could have done this. Yeah, maybe I could have, or maybe it's just time to release this stuff. I still looked at the underlying stuff that was going on, but I also thought, well, this is ready to go. And I'm a big believer in, we're multi-dimensional beings. We're not just this physical body. And even around us, you know, there's Eastern and Western medicine that we need to rely on. And if we can integrate it all and work out what's right for us, without having the inner bully would have just brought me down and brought some more toxic energy into my body, rather than going, oh, well, I'm so grateful. Oh, that's what's going on. Oh, okay, let me just clear this right now and move on. And my healing, like healing my physical body, it heals quite well and quite fast, because I have that, oh, okay, this is what needs to happen. Let's do this.
Boom.
And it's not to not take responsibility, because everything I've gone through, I've done a deep dive, and is there anything in there? What do I need to do? What do I need? Because the gallbladder stuff, even though that just came out like a month ago, or maybe 6 weeks ago now, that's been going on for about 4 or 5 years. You know, because I could feel it. It wasn't stones for me. It was actually my gallbladder literally sort of pulsing and sort of making itself known. So I know that these are things that have been coming up for a while, and there is, in all honesty, there's a little bit more healing in there, and that's okay. Life sort of brings stuff around for me to go, I still need to work on that. But that's okay, because if we're not working on things, then I think, I don't know, that for me, I'm always learning, whether it's about me or about the world around me, and that's what keeps me going, and that's what keeps me feeling alive and connected to my you know, my joy and my happiness.
Yeah. And I know I'm a big believer anything's possible, but I'm also a big believer in like, we've chosen this body in this lifetime, and we kind of know where our limitations are going to get to on some level in this lifetime. So we need to address those things in reality for ourselves and do the preventative measures, or the operative measures, or for me, my memory hasn't been a really great, like, you know, hereditary thing in my family. So for me, it's about making sure I have everything that I want to have available for my family, photos, any of my work, whatever, that they can access, so that when I'm gone, that's my legacy. Or when I'm gone, like my memory starts to go, and I'm 52, it could go. Lots of people get early onset, and I'm not saying that I will, but my sense is that's the thing that will probably go. So I'm okay with that, and I'm humble about that. I'm not dreading it. I've already said to Tony, what things can we do to make it fun? You know, is there a video like 50 first dates you want to make for me? You know, and part of the reason why I want to you know, do my enlightened conversations is so that I can remind myself who I am when if my memory starts to go as well. So I think it's about honoring the journey and honoring, you know, those kind of things that I'm doing are shaping my life now. And that's not living in fear. That's me saying I'm okay with that, to the point where I'm preparing myself so that I don't have to worry about that. That's fantastic. I love that.
Well, that's empowering, isn't it? That, I think that's
Mm.
coming from a place of empowerment, to be able to know where you may be heading, and to prepare yourself as much as you can to walk down that path, and the people around you. And I think that's the key, is, you know, it's going through life with a little bit of joy, because we all, well, a lot of joy. I like to live my life in joy. It doesn't mean that I'm always joyful and happy. There are definitely sad moments, and we've had a couple of losses this year in terms of family. But it's also knowing that we can always reconnect with that joy. It doesn't go away because something happens. And, you know, I'm now faced with, do I get reconstruction or not? I'm lopsided at the moment. I have one boob and I have a prosthetic. And I actually joke about it because that's just me. And I think just a couple of weeks ago, I thought, you know what, whatever's happening, I'm putting it on hold. My body needs a break from surgeries. My body needs a break from hospitals. And I'm just going to see how I go. And part of me just wants to rock the lopsidedness. I don't at the moment. I do have the prosthetic. But part of me is like, oh, you know what, I'm proud. This is like my war wound. It's like, you know, I might get a nice tattoo over it or something. I think if we can honor who we are, I think that helps empower other people, and especially our family and our kids and those around us who we really do impact on a daily life, you know, on a daily basis, really. So I've always loved what you do. And I think Enlightened Conversations was how we first met. I'm pretty sure is that how we first?
Really? Wow, that
We
would be
first
really
met.
interesting. Gosh, that's how. See, I'm not great with the memory, so there you go. Here's the reality. And if I'd played that episode, it'll probably come out in it or something. So I should have listened to it, but I haven't. Yeah, I've been busy doing some other things, and we had the weekend away. So yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's how we met. And then I started working with you on the magazine, and then I did your beautiful Lightworker course, which is just phenomenal. I always share it with my clients. If they want a course, go to Michelle's course. Because I think for me, it solidified everything. All that work really solidified and brought everything together in a cohesive manner. And with all my studies, I draw on a lot of that work all the time. And you know, I love it. So I love everything that you represent. And I'm really blessed that we actually connected all those years ago, because even though we've never met in person, which is really quite funny, I always say, Michelle, we're friend in Queensland. Because we haven't physically met yet, have we? I don't think we.
No, and I'm heading down to Melbourne for Chrissy, and I'm hoping that we can get together so I can actually meet you. I know it's a busy time of year, but if it happens, it'd be wonderful.
Would be beautiful. But yeah, no, I love everything you're creating and can continue to create. And I think that's why I feel so aligned and love to chat with you all the time.
Yeah. And it's easy. And the conversation's always easy. We always just go straight to it. I just love it. Like in our little messenger things, how's it going? Oh yeah. Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, I think it's about this, blah, blah, blah. Straight away. It's like, there's no holding back. And I must admit, I'm not much of a small talker. Like, you know, like even it's a bit rude, I know, but like even when I haven't spoken to people for a long time, I'm not really one to entertain so what's happening with you? I'm more, you know, hey, this is what's going on for me. Da, 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 da. How about you? And that sort of invitation for a little bit more real, like real stuff where we really at. Yeah, I'm not really. I
think that's the deeper connection. It's not the surface level stuff. It's knowing that we can be honest and just come together and chat. And I mean, even today, there was no preparation. It was just, let's just get together. Michelle said she liked pooping out of your head, you know, my live that I did. But sure. And then I thought, what are we going to chat about? Oh, well, whatever happens, happens. Because like you, I think my life is an open book. I'm happy to share my experiences with people, my ups and my downs. And I say to my clients, sometimes I have meltdowns. I'm not perfect. You know, I think it was about a month ago, I had a total meltdown. The difference is, I think, when you do this work, you're aware of it. So sort of say to my family, I'm having a meltdown right now. I know I'm being irrational. Just stay away from me. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's a less of a toxic spew out as opposed to just give me some space because,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
tired or whatever's come up and it just needs to come out.
And who wouldn't be? Like, when you look at how many surgeries you've had, like, your etheric body would need some time to just bounce back, wouldn't it? Like, since last year, you've had 3 surgeries.
And then on top of that, I also had a colonoscopy and gastroscopy. So that was a 4th anesthetic in there. So yeah,
Wow.
so there was
Yeah.
3 physical surgeries of them literally cutting things off me. And then the extra anesthetic, which is why I thought, you know what, I might just put the reconstruction on hold for now. And I haven't made a decision either way, and that's okay. I may never make. I may just keep floating like I am now, because they
Yeah,
were going to use
exactly.
my own body fat anyway, which is really cool. They went,
Wow, that's
yeah,
amazing. Oh my God.
yeah,
Okay. Wow, the things they can do right now. That's
yeah. I've
incredible,
got
isn't
quite a
it?
bit in my belly that could be reallocated.
Reallocated. Wow. And I hear they're printing boobs now.
Oh, are they?
Yes. I'm trying to think what it was, but it was it was like a 3D printer that was able to print, but I'm pretty sure it might have been like your own cells, but I'm not 100% sure. It was a little while ago that I saw that. But yeah, they've got all different kind of technologies, like to think that you could kind of have a shape that you wanted, if that, from that perspective, but also still be you. That would be awesome as well.
Oh, I think I'm always in awe of technology. I'm
Mm,
not, I'm always, I love technology, not to the degree, like I don't want it to take over our spirituality, but I think everything goes together. I think as we evolve, we have technology and we can use it for our benefit,
mm.
and we can just, I think that's what life's about. It's about embracing all aspects of it. Or
Yeah,
like
I
I said before,
agree.
we're multidimensional, we have to know that we're more than just one thing.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. And like, they've got this technology that I was researching the other day because it caught my eye, and it was on they're doing these things where it's very uninvasive, and they take stem cells from your own body and they grow them over a period of 4 weeks, and then they inject them into your knee or where you've got need cartilage or tendon to regrow
Oh,
itself.
that's
Like, there's lots of
cool.
things happening. It's really exciting. I love it. I'm big on researching all these things and finding out what the hell are they doing. It's amazing.
I think it's amazing. And what's even cooler is that a lot of it comes from Australia. So we've got a lot here in Australia where these medical breakthroughs come through. And we're really lucky to be, I think, in this country for the most
Yeah.
part. I know some people may disagree.
Mm.
Hey,
No, we've
look,
got
I live,
lots. Mm,
but I love living here, and I love what Australia has to offer the world. And
mm.
just embracing all of that and looking at it from the perspective of how it can enrich our lives is what we need to do. And again,
Yeah,
that's coming from a place of
absolutely.
gratitude and optimism.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, I'm a big believer that when we know, with regards to letting go of or accepting into our being, whatever it is, like whether it's a prosthetic or whether it's a real fat redistribution or a injection that regrows your stem cells or whatever. I think you got to, I just believe, trust yourself. So there's no bullying about you shouldn't, you should, because you can, you should, or no, it has to feel right. I mean, we have the power. Like, when I had my breast augmentation, oh gosh, it's 2012 now. That's like 10 years ago. Um, one of my biggest things was, whatever happens, I feel like they're a part of me. Like, they're not going to be separate to me or anything like that. They're going to be me. So I was really big on that, and I know that there's a lot of people having reactions to certain implants that they've had. Um, I was going through extremely intuitive process about what to choose at the time. It was like really like, and so the one I chose ended up being not the one people were having reactions to, which is real. several that people are having reactions to, and in general maybe having reactions to as well. So just even when it comes down to those choices, what's right for your body, what's right for you emotionally, physically, what feels right, what ticks the boxes, because there's just different aspects of our personality that want different things, and it's about taking the time and going into those parts of ourselves and saying, well, what feels right for me?
I love that, because I think that's where we really embrace life, and we're here to live our life. We're not here to listen to everybody else's opinions on what should or shouldn't be done. When we get to go on our own journey, we get to go, I want to experience this and I want to experience that, and I'll take a bit of that and I'll take a bit of that. And whatever that entails, I think is wonderful. If you own who you are, that's when you really get to experience and enjoy life. And that's when the inner bully doesn't have that voice. The inner bully can't get in and say, you should do this, you should listen to this, you should. And that we know that energy from that inner bully it'll deplete our energy. We know from epigenetics that our emotions impact our physical body and everything else around us. So that inner bully only depletes that part of us. Whereas if we go in with gratitude and optimism and choice and intuition and going, this is right for me and this is part of my body, I think that's what really allows us to live our life on our terms.
Yeah. And if we do have an internal fight going on, one part of us thinks we should do this, and the other part thinks we should do that, and we've got that sort of tug of war internally, it feels like we're being ripped apart. I think, like for me, the best thing I can do is just go, okay, what parts of me are saying what, and just sort of try and like separate them out a bit more to get their voices clearer as to what their opinions are. So then have a campfire talk or something, and just say, okay, what are you feeling? Okay, what do you want? What do you need? What are you afraid of? Just those general questions to each of them, and just find out like what's really going on. Because I don't think like we can reach compromise like properly if we don't know all the facets that are making their voices known. There might be some really wounded ones, and they just need a little bit more love, and they're just scared because they don't want to go on anesthetic or something like that. Could be things like that going on. But it could be that they're not blocking it, but they're just scared. And so therefore resistant to something going on. But I think, in your situation, it feels just from what you've told me too, it just feels like such a loving thing to do, to give yourself a rest. I know we're joking about getting boob jobs and how it was how cool it will be, new set of boobs and all that, and to enjoy that. But at the end of the day, it is all about what you feel. What you feel right about. Like, is it about just wanting to wear your scars and be okay with them? And, there's just all of that as well.
Well, in 6 months' time, I go, no, I want a boob job. I may say that, and I'm not opposed to it. And then there comes a question, how do they make them look the same? Because I only took one boob. Do I do both? And by then I may, who knows, I might go on a really good health kick and lose a whole lot of weight, and then I won't have any fat to redistribute. So then I will be looking at other options. And, I'm not opposed to anything right now. All I know is right now I'm happy just to be where I am and to give myself that break.
It feels really loving.
And I think that's the thing with the inner bully. Sometimes the inner bully has a time limit on it. You need to, this tricks you, as opposed to going, right now I'm actually cool. I'm actually okay where I'm at. And I don't need to do anything right now. And whatever happens, do you know what? That's not a decision right now I have to make. It's not like when I had the mastectomy and the cancer was there. No, take the boob. I don't want to have to think about, that was a time sensitive thing. But
of course,
sometimes there are things that aren't time sensitive, and that's okay. And I think when you were talking about those two opposing voices in your head, it's like having two little kids that you sort of need to separate and go, right, what do you want and what do you, that was the analogy I was thinking. And that's where we come to making friends with your brain. Listen to your brain. Don't ignore it. Don't yell at it. Don't berate yourself. When we're, as a parent, and you're a parent as well, kids need love. And so do our thoughts in our head. They need that same love and that same understanding. And you pull them apart and you talk to them. I like the campfire analogy.
And sometimes it's hard to do it like if it's all, like you said, like it's chaos, when you have that whole chaos thing going on. And sometimes it's easier to do like, oh, what does this one want to say? And write on a separate piece of paper what the other one wants to say, just to get them pooping out of your head. Having a couple of different poop streams. But I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like if we're wanting to listen, we find a way. And that helps us to get to the bottom of what's really going on, and then make a sound decision from that clarity that everybody feels happy about. Like there might be a part of you that really wants to do a job saying, but I and it's like, cool, okay, yes. And then there's other parts too. There's a part of me that just goes, I've had 4 operations for anesthetics in the last year, and this is good to make sure we're going to go through this project really well. If we do that, and it's just having that sort of lovingness and diversity and inclusion internally, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just some things don't need to be done straight away. And I
Mm,
think that's the key. It's just loving ourselves through whatever life throws at us and taking one step at a time. And like you said, preparing for the future, but also not being anxious about the future, just sort of setting things up for the future, but also enjoying the now, the present moment, because that's
yeah.
where we live life, is right here. And that's what the inner bully does. It takes away that ability to be in the present moment. It's pulling you in different directions. And that's the other reason we write it down, is because our brain doesn't want to forget. And on some level, when you write it down, the brain sort of goes, oh, you've written it down, you're not going to forget it now. And
Yeah,
that's the
that's
other reason we write it.
clever.
Yeah, well, it's like
Yes.
if we've got a shopping list, we don't write it down, it just sits in our head and stresses us. Or if we're going to bed and we go, tomorrow I need to do da 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 da. If you get up and just write it down, it gives you some peace in your mind. So that's the other reason I say write it out, is because your brain on some level goes, I'm not going to forget now. Even if you're going to destroy it, it's allowing you to release the need to hold on to it.
Exactly. And it's that intention and that consciousness, isn't it, around that this is stuff that I know that isn't, I need to know, great, know it. Now I can let it go. It's not something that has to keep pulling at my apron strings. I've heard it and I'm addressing it. And it's good to get it all out and just to see how much power it's got in it as well. Because sometimes we go, oh gosh, that is really dark, or
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was there. Or it's like, when you write something down and then underneath it there's something more. But if you hadn't have written that bit down, you wouldn't have got to the bit underneath it. A bit like grief. If you didn't do the anger stuff, you won't get to the sadness stuff. So it's kind of like the onion, like peeling back the onion a little bit.
Like the blockage, you need to get rid of some of the poop before the rest of the poop comes out.
Yeah, onion poop. I like it. Poop rings.
You don't want to be constipated. You don't want to have a mind constipation.
Exactly. Yeah, and so that sounds really cool, and I'm really 1,000,000% behind you and your decision on that. Just from that point of view of taking your time and being in the now and enjoying, what you've got in front of you, and and there's also other things around you at the moment that are taking your energy. I'm aware of. So there's that as well, and I think that that's a very wise decision, because you don't want to spread yourself too thin.
No, and as I said, I am a mum of 2 teenagers, and it hasn't been an easy year. As teenagers
Mm,
get older, they go through their own stuff. It's been there for them.
mm,
Amongst this last year, my husband also had a heart attack at Easter time. So
mm,
um, I laugh now because he's fine. I'm not laughing at the fact that he had a heart attack, but and we lost my grandfather and my godfather. It has been a really probably a really intense year in terms of
mm.
emotionally,
Yeah.
especially coming off the back of 2 years of COVID. But you know, life's meant to be lived. And my grandfather, he passed away at 95, and he had a phenomenal life. And
Mm.
my godfather also had a phenomenal life. And yeah, I think it's just looking at I'm optimistic that next year is going to be a fantastic year. I mean, this year hasn't been a bad year. It's just been a little bit more challenging, I guess. But again, we go back to, if you do the work, you can
Mm.
navigate through anything, and you allow yourself to feel the grief or the anger or the sadness or whatever else comes through. It's not hiding from your emotions. It's allowing yourself to go. And sometimes I go, I'm really shitty today, and I just want to be shitty. All right, so
Mm.
I'll just own that shittiness and the funny thing is, when I own it, it doesn't last long. It's
No,
like it
because
gets
you
stuck.
allowed it, right? You just, yeah.
Yeah. So
There's
when you
a,
do the work,
there's the, yes, you do. And when, like how we're talking about the inner bully, um, if we've got an inner bully, and a lot of people have this, where they're judging ourselves for having an emotional process, and we shouldn't be. You should be more evolved than that. You shouldn't be angry, or you should get over it. Come on, get on with it. You pull up your socks, get on with, tough it out, and all these kind of things. When you've got that inner bully that's directly attacking the emotions or judging you for your emotions, then you've got a double whammy, because you've got the actual emotional process, and then you have you don't have a safe space to which feel that process. That can make life extremely difficult for people. And so therefore, I would say to anybody listening, if you have a part of yourself beating up on you or any of your emotions, then that needs to be one of the priorities you address, because the emotions themselves are hard enough when we're going through literally the emotions. We need to have a space that allows ourselves, like you said, just, I'm having a shitty day or whatever, and being able to say that and accept yourself and love yourself, and forewarn people so that they're emotionally prepared, as that's great. They're taking responsibility. But yeah, if we've got that part that, like, we're just sucking it up, but we feel shitty, and everybody else can feel it, but they're like, what's going on with mum? Whatever. They know something's going on, but they can't put their finger on it because you haven't said anything. And then that makes people feel like, oh no, I'm fine. If that's what's going on. And then they're going, no, you're not. And then they feel a bit crazy. And that creates a situation around you where people feel a bit crazy around you because you're not being real with them, but they can feel it, because on some level, like you said, with the heart, if they're 3 feet away, people can kind of feel what's really going on. So I think just for the benefit of our kids as well.
I agree. And it creates that sense of dishonesty in some way, because you're not owning your feelings. And then, your kids pick that up, that it's okay. You're sort of teaching your kids or those around you that they can't feel sad or angry or whatever it is at the time. I think that's what's really powerful about it. And I see so many people that come to see me and they'll feel whatever they want. And they'll go, oh, I know it's stupid, but I feel this. I go, hang on, it's not stupid that you feel that. That's what you feel. It's okay to feel whatever it is, if it is jealousy or whether it is comparison or whatever. If you can sit and go, hang on, I feel jealous of that person, then let's go through that. Why do you feel jealous of that person? What's because then you can actually heal it, as opposed to it always being there. Or I feel guilty because of, well, hang on a minute, let's look at the guilt. One of the biggest bullies, I think, is hindsight. I find hindsight a really interesting one, because people go, well, I should have known better back then. I shouldn't have done that. Hang on a minute. You did the best you could then. You're now, 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years ahead of that person you were then. Don't berate that poor person, that part of you that didn't know. Hindsight is a great lesson, but it's not something we get stuck in and start to judge ourselves because we should have known better back then. We were a different person then. And that's one of the bullies that can be really loud. I should know. Well,
especially when we've done work on building our intuition, and then we don't see something coming. And I see a lot of people critical about that. And I'm of the mind of, we have to walk through certain lessons, and we are not going to be shown everything that's going to happen to us before it happens to us. Otherwise, we would basically eradicate the learning journey of that situation. If we knew that what was going to happen, we just wouldn't have walked the journey. So then we wouldn't have learned the journey. So I think, yes,
I did not know breast cancer was coming into my life at all. I didn't even have an inkling that cancer was part of my journey.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm glad that I didn't need to know it.
You navigated it so brilliantly.
And so, I agree. We don't always need to know everything. And I say this to people all the time. I look at where I was 10 years ago, and 10 years ago, almost to the day, I hit my rock bottom with depression. And I could not have, the person who I was 10 years ago could not imagine where I am today. And if I had seen where I am today, I don't know how I would have coped. I probably would have thought, no, it's too hard, I'm out of here. I would have, even, I can't get there. How can I get there? And I say to clients all the time, or people, you don't know where you're going to be in 5 years' time. You don't know where you're going to be in 10 years' time. Enjoy the journey right now. Yes, have a bit of awareness of what's going on. I'm not saying be oblivious to what's going on, but we don't have to know everything. I think that's part of what makes life so exciting.
I agree. And I would encourage anybody who's building their intuition and things like that, to take, I guess, the fear out of living life, as out of the motivator to build your intuition. Intuition is not going to tell you what's coming for your highest good every time before you walk it. And that would be ripping you off. So your intuition wouldn't be doing the right thing if it did that. So it will tell you the things you need to know, and to trust that 100%, that it will tell you when you need to know something. You will feel it. And you're not wrong if you walk through something that you look back and go, blind Freddie would have seen that. Why didn't I see it? You just needed to walk through it, and you needed to walk through it blind for whatever reason, so that you could then have the lesson, and then that experience. It could be a million different reasons why. It could be to prevent someone else, to teach somebody else about it. It could be the right thing said to the right person at the right time. It could be to teach you something else that you needed to build on for a strength, or to say we need to work on this area. There's so many things we don't know. So yeah, lifelong learning. I love that, and not beating up on ourselves for not knowing everything that we should have known. Would it, should have, would it, could it.
Apps, and that's the inner bully. That's the other. I think that's a really good spiritual inner bully, that I should have known this. My intuition should have told me this. I should have been able to heal this. Whatever it is, that bully, it doesn't come from love.
Yeah.
The bully doesn't come from love. And I think we just need to show ourselves some more love to be able to navigate through it. And the bully loses their power, like the bullies out there. They lose their power when you don't. If you shower them with love from your heart space, that sort of, it puts you in a different space, and it doesn't affect you in the same way.
Yeah,
absolutely. You could spend your time watching the news and being fearful of everything that could possibly happen around the world, or the news, or whatever, wherever you get your information from. Or you could just go, you know what? I like where I'm living right now. I love the people around me. I'm just going to keep doing me.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful way to walk through the world, to really be in that gratitude of what we have right now. The world is never perfect, and it's always in its own process. So we can get caught up in the judgment of the world. And I think it's really important to take our power back and go, what have I created? What am I living? And am I living it how I want to live it? And there's more than enough hours in the day for me to be focusing on that, let alone judging how the rest of the world is. So
there's no point judging anyone else for what they do or how the world's going. It just takes away your peace in the moment.
Yeah, it totally does. And there's a lot of that at the moment. So it's probably a lot of people who need to listen to this one.
Yes, judgment is something. I remember someone saying to me, oh, everyone has an opinion about everything. Sometimes I really don't have an opinion. I'm not attached to this or that. I'm just really not attached to it, because it's not important enough for me in my life. And it's not to dismiss what's going on, but I don't always have an opinion about stuff, because you could look at the political thing in the US, and whether it's Trump or not Trump, okay, it's not impacting me right now. I don't need to expend my energy on thinking about other things right now, when I can be doing it on something else that feeds me, brings me joy, allows me to help other people, or that my family, or whatever else. That's where I choose to put my energy. And it's okay if others choose to put their energy somewhere else as well. That's okay too.
Yeah, absolutely. And my opinion is everything's meant to be that's happening for whatever reason, whether it's a reflection of the consciousness of the day, and people need to be more conscious of what that is. And they're making choices based on that. That's just a reflection of the democratic process, and who people are choosing or tolerating, as it would happen in some countries. And it doesn't make what's happening good or bad. It just makes it a work in progress, and we're all a work in progress. So and I think the more we are able to acknowledge that for ourselves, that we are all a work in progress, and that's a good thing, rather than dear, a work in progress. No, it's a good thing. Then we're less likely to do it to the rest of the world and be judging them for being a work in progress too. That inner bully is less externalized, and
That's it. And if we all sit in our own heart, if more of us are in heart coherence, if more of us are connected to our heart space, and that ripples out, imagine the ripple effect that has. That, we talked before about how when you're in heart coherence, it impacts the person next to you. If more people were in that, and I think HeartMath have actually done some studies on this, but the more we do that, the more impact we have. And I know there's lots of studies out there about meditations and how they've decreased crime in places when they've done a whole lot of meditations and all of that. I like to sit in the space of, if I can raise my vibration to just work with me in my heart space, then the ripple effect it'll just come out. And, people like you as well, who just spread that love, it can't not have an impact. It will have an impact just because. And that's, I guess, for me, that's where I love to sit. It makes me feel happy, it brings about joy, and I can see the people around me benefit from it, and that benefit ripples out.
Oh, it totally does. And it's tangible. It really is. It really is. Well, where can people find you, just so that we can make sure that if people want to get in touch, they've got your details?
They can go to my website, empoweredhappiness.com. I'm also on Instagram, empowered.happiness, and I'm on Facebook. You can Google, on Facebook for Empowered Happiness. And I also have a Facebook group, and I do have a YouTube channel as well. So there's heaps of information out there. I'm also on Insight Timer, actually, if you want some free meditations. So
what is
heaps of ways. Insight Timer is a meditation app where I upload free meditations.
Wow.
It's a global app. Yeah. I like to give back. So when I can, I give out, and I love to, I'm always questioning myself, and I say to people, I might say this today and tomorrow it might be different because my awareness has shifted. And that's okay. This is where I'm at the moment. I just want to inspire people and empower people. And I also do that to myself while I do that. So it's a bit of everything going
I know.
on.
Yeah, we do, don't we? Like, this is the truth. As we embrace the inner bully, we obviously affect the world, but we also affect ourselves and connect more with our heart space and heal ourselves. So it was so beautiful having you on the show.
Thank you
so beautiful, much. So beautiful, and so lovely to be able to share this wisdom with the greater community. I really appreciate you taking the time, Carolyn. I know you've been really busy and things have been happening. So thank you so much for popping on for me.
Always love chatting with you, Michelle, and always got time for you. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful woman. Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next time.